All three major stock indexes ended Thursday in the green, and several regional banks whose stocks had fallen earlier this week rebounded, suggesting a return of some confidence in the banking system and fewer fears about a new shock to the economy. 11 large banks announced they would deposit $30 billion with First Republic Bank, which had been considered weak in light of the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. And in Washington, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen testified before the Senate Banking Committee, expressing her own economic assurances. Here's CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane.
California-based First Republic Bank becomes the third U.S. bank this week rescued from collapse. The infusion of $30 billion to save the troubled lender came from 11 of the nation's largest financial institutions. First Republic had lost a quarter of its value by noon today and rattled markets. It would later rebound, but Wall Street traders said this was only a short-term fix.
Is that a long-term solution? I don't think so. Are there other companies that have exposure to the bigger systemic problem? Very possibly.
Nervous First Republic customers have seen their bank's value plummet since Silicon Valley Bank collapsed last week.
I was definitely concerned with the financial situation, after the two banks went under.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who negotiated today's rescue with, among others, J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon, went to Capitol Hill today to quiet the concerns.
I can reassure the members of the committee that our banking system is sound and that Americans can feel confident that their deposits will be there when they need them.
Democrats said former President Trump and Republicans were responsible for the latest crisis for lifting post-Great Recession bank regulations in 2018, though some Democrats also supported it.
Pretty obvious we need some stronger rules here.
Iowa Republican Chuck Grassley, who voted to loosen those regulations 5 years ago, said Biden administration regulators should have detected and stopped these banks from taking dangerous risks.
This administration has a great deal of responsibility for the bank failures that we had.
John, Republicans pressed the Treasury Secretary about whether other banks across America can expect similar rescues down the road. And she said only if there is a fear of systemic risk or significant economic and financial consequences.
Scott, on Senator Warren's effort to basically lower the asset threshold for banks to have those stress tests to find out if they could handle stress, does she have any support for that?
Add that to the list of proposals that are out there now. I mean, there have been several. Senator Warren has been a leader on issues involving banking and banking integrity for years, but there are also proposals to raise the threshold to which the FDIC insures losses from $250,000 to more. There are proposals to do new regulations or to order new regulations, to do things statutorily, through federal law. But all that being said, there's no pathway towards new law being passed on such a broad, sweeping issue as the nation's banking system at this moment in time, at least not yet. There are proposals, but there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the legislative tunnel.
I'm going to switch topics now to Social Security. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana sort of used this moment to lodge a complaint with the Treasury Secretary about inability to get through to the White House. Will you talk us through that on the issue of Social Security?
That was the other big issue that came up as the Treasury Secretary testified before the U.S. Senate today. That other crisis, which is sitting there latent, but nevertheless still out there. The debt ceiling and how to either raise the debt ceiling with accompanying spending cuts, or potentially to Medicare and Social Security, or to simply just raise it. So this Social Security wedge issue circulates still as the deadline nears to raise the debt ceiling. What Senator Cassidy is asking, what a lot of Republicans are asking, is what becomes of Social Security down the road, looking for clarity from the Biden administration, which has been trying to paint Republicans as willing to cut Social Security. There has just not been a meeting of the minds between the Biden administration and Senate Republicans on the issue of Social Security and what to do about this debt ceiling. Because, John, if and when this bank crisis ends, we are back to the other crisis, a potential default and a different type of shockwave to the U.S. economy.
Yeah, striking the bit. Senator Cassidy, you told the Secretary of the Treasury, we've been calling and the president won't answer our calls. Finally, Scott, you have some new reporting on the House's new January 6th committee. Yet another one.
Yes, a new subcommittee to reinvestigate January 6th, led by House Republicans, including Barry Loudermilk of Georgia, who says he wants to review security failures January 6th, how intelligence wasn't passed through and the Capitol wasn't better protected from the attacking mob, but also wants to investigate the conduct and the operations of the House January 6th Select Committee last Congress. He has the support of the Speaker of the House for this. Congressman Loudermilk says he's already reviewing some of the 2 million pages of documents collected by that panel and reviewing some of those 41,000 plus hours of January 6th video. He says this will make up a large part of the work product of this subcommittee moving forward. But John, I'll give you one footnote. Democrats will not be boycotting this like Republicans did last year. They will take their seats and they will try to have their say.
Scott MacFarlane on Capitol Hill. Thank you, Scott.